Hi, everyone, and welcome back to LL Sports. Welcome to the latest episode of the show Bonded by Boxing, the show that covers all the major stories in the boxing world. I'm very pleased and honored to be able to introduce my co-host and son, Darryl from the Boxing Lowdown. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How's it going?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Not too bad. Just seeing what's ahead in the boxing world. It seems to be quite busy at the moment. There's a lot to talk about, so let's get straight into it. Although I've got to say this first and foremost, I do have to mention a couple of sad things that's come across in the boxing world in the last week or so. The first one was the unfortunate passing of the Irish boxer John Cooney, who suffered a brain hemorrhage after his most recent fight against a Welsh fighter. I think his name was Nathan Howells. They were fighting in Ulster in Belfast. Yeah, John Cooney, 28 years old, super featherweight man, lost his life. Tragic story. Unfortunately, in boxing, there will be fatalities. Such is the nature of the sport, but it's always, very sad to learn nonetheless, Darryl.
Yeah, devastating news. And like you said, unfortunately, this is a part of the sport. Just my condolences to the family, man. Is very sad. And I believe it was the first defense of his Celtic super featherweight title. It was as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Only 28 years old.
Yeah,
Has his whole life ahead of him, man. So young, and yeah, these things are tragic. And just my hearts and thoughts go out to his family, man. It's terrible, tragic news. And it's nice to see the boxing community acknowledge what's happened, and just my heart's thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family.
Yeah, fully concur and endorse those words, Darryl. Thank you very much. Yeah, very sad news. John Cooney was up and coming fighter, prospect, who's good amateur, like you said, Celtic champion. Obviously, big things were being planned for him, and to, have his life cut short in this way is tragic news indeed. So we wish the family, friends, everyone associated with John Cooney, our thoughts are with you. Right. And also on not quite on that note, but a similar sad story was I got word of it today. Was the announcement by Joe Gallagher, former Ring Magazine Trainer of the Year. I'm sure all the British boxing fans know him. Quite a live wire. He announced that he's suffering from stage 4 cancer now of the bowel and the liver. That's quite serious prognosis, that is. So, obviously our thoughts are with him. Joe Gallagher, man, real, how can I put it? Real character in the business and a real good trainer as well. I mean, he's trained, numerous world champions from Britain, Callum Smith, Liam Smith, Paul Butler, Lawrence Okoli, who we'll be talking about later, Natasha Jonas. That's to name but a few, many British champions. And he's from Manchester, part of that, the original, the Champs Camp at Moss Side, those guys. So, yeah, listen, man, our thoughts are with him also. Big O, let's hope he can make a full recovery, and we wish him all the best. Darryl, your thoughts?
Yeah, very sad news, man. And just on a personal level, Joe Gallagher, for me, one of my favorite characters in British boxing, man. I mean, such a great character, great personality, great for the sport. Like you said, developed so many good fighters, like Natasha Jonas, or one of the more famous examples. But yeah, just really, really enjoy Joe Gallagher and what he's done for our sport, man. And very sad news to hear. And my thoughts again go with him, man. I'm giving him all the strength that he needs. Healing.
Yeah, and it's poignant in it because I know you're a big fan of him. You're not just saying that because me and you have had several conversations, and you've always said, "I like Joe Gallagher.
Always
I like his forthright style, the way he comes out and he speaks his mind, no holds barred." And I know from personal experience that you've always bigged him up. So I know that you are very saddened when you heard that news today.
Absolutely, yeah, and very sad news, very sad news. But he always has been one of my favorite characters in British boxing, man. Really do like Joe Gallagher, and just sending him all the well wishes that I can.
Big up Joe, man, on his fight against cancer. Let's hope he's successful with that. Right, okay, moving on then. Fight review. Just briefly, I'm sure you saw it, Darryl, in the UK, Manchester, the last dance, Derek Chisora's 49th fight, heavyweight title. Sorry, not heavyweight title fight, it was heavyweight eliminator for the IBF title, and he was taking on Otto Wallin of Sweden. I watched the fight. Actually, I'm not going to say too much. Darryl, your thoughts before I say anything else.
Well, my thoughts was, the first thing I tweeted after that fight was, you would take Derek Chisora to war with you any day of the week, man. He is that type of guy. He's just 41 years old and going in there, just got the heart of a warrior. Like, literally took it to Otto Wallin, who I thought would have been put up more of a fight, to be honest. I was a bit disappointed on his part in terms of his effort. But I mean, after the fight, he said that he tried his best and he just couldn't hang with Derek, which is fair enough, man, because Chisora was sticking it on him from round one. We knew what he was going to do, conserve his energy where he can. He's a wily old veteran. And, he made it horrible in there for Otto Wallin. That was the only way he was going to win. He executed his game plan and he won very convincingly, dropped him twice and dominated the fight, man. I mean, great performance from Chisora. Very emotional one as well, considering that this is supposed to be his last performance in the UK, although I might have heard otherwise now. But I thought it was a great night from all around, Derek Chisora.
No, agreed. I mean, when that fight was first made, I actually thought that could be a bit of a banana skin for Derek.
So did I.
Otto Wallin, decent fighter. I think he's only got a couple of losses on his record. One of which is to Tyson Fury all them years ago. When, let's face it, he put up a really good fight, cut Tyson Fury. A lot of people thought, myself included, that fight could have been stopped in Otto Wallin's favor. It wasn't. Tyson Fury went on to win. But a lot of people always gave Otto Wallin credit for that performance. He fought AJ as well. Didn't do as well against AJ, obviously. He got smoked. But I mean, this was a chance to, revitalize his career against an aging warrior in Derek. And like you said, Daryl, he seemed a bit negative. Derek came out in the first round, stuck it on him as Derek always does. But you would have thought Otto Wallin would be expecting that. I mean, he started so slowly that I was thinking to myself, well, maybe he's aware that Derek, obviously, he's 41 years old, had a long, hard career. Maybe he's thinking, if I just, if I pace myself and, see out the early onslaught, then I'll get to grips with Derek later. But he didn't really do that. He did cut Derek, but he didn't really go for it the way I thought he would have done. I was quite disappointed in his performance. But as much as I was disappointed in him, I've got to say I was very impressed with Derek. He fought sensibly as well. Yes, he did stick it on Otto Wallin, but he weren't going crazy. And he showed some smarts in there. He knew when to take his foot off the gas. He went southpaw a few times. He kind of old manned him when he needed to and roughed him up when he needed to. He landed the bigger shots, dropped him twice, thoroughly deserved the decision. I thought one of the scorecards, 114, 112, that was ridiculous. I had Derek winning that fight easy. I think the other two scorecards was 116, 112. That was too close. I think the other one was 117, 109, which is more in line with what I had. Nevertheless, a very good performance by Derek Chisora. Just quickly, Daryl, that was his 49th win. He says he's going to fight his 50th fight in the not too distant future. In the ring afterwards, he was there with Skepta and Tiny, and he had some pictures in an envelope that he invited those guys to hold up. And the three pictures were Usyk, Dubois and Anthony Joshua. And not surprisingly, Anthony Joshua's name got the biggest reception. My question to you is, which of those three makes sense? Or if it's not one of those three, who would you like to see him fight in his 50th fight?
None of them. None of those three. Like none of those three at all. For me, it's got to be Dillian White. It's got to be Dillian White, regardless what happens with Dillian White and Joe Joyce, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But yeah, it's got to be Dillian White, and if not Dillian White, then Jarrell Miller. Maybe I wouldn't mind seeing that, but I don't want to see him against Dubois. Don't want to see him against Usyk again. And AJ is a bit of a weird one for me because they're literally very good friends, former sparring partners, former gym mates. So yeah, that'll be a weird one. I don't know if AJ would fancy that, but I'd like to see Dillian White fight again. Round that off, or maybe have Jarrell Miller, if not Dillian White. One of them two.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the Usyk one makes no sense. Usyk's really beating him. I know him and Usyk are good mates, but I don't see that fight happening. Daniel Dubois, I think that would be way too much for Derek. You don't want to put him in there with someone like Daniel Dubois at this stage of Daniel Dubois' career. The AJ, I think maybe Derek is thinking with his business hat on, he's thinking that fight would generate a lot of money. It's a British clash, AJ being very popular. But I can't see that happening either. I think AJ's got other plans. So I think the fight that does make the most sense, that's easiest to make, I would imagine, is Dillian Derek Chisora versus Dillian White, and it would be the third fight. I mean, they've had two
Yeah,
really good fights previously. Even though Dillian won both of those, they were still tremendous fights, very competitive. And listen, man, I think at this stage of their
I
careers,
think
that's
the
a very
third will be competitive as well. Yeah, I think
yeah, I
that
think
would
that's a
be
very
very
winnable
competitive.
fight for. I think that's a very winnable fight for Derek Chisora. I mean, we'll have to see how Dillian White gets on. He's got a
Joe
fight
Joyce.
planned, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. So yeah, okay. So yeah, okay. Thanks, Daryl. Moving on then. Previewing this weekend's fights. It's a busy week of boxing coming up, man. Some big fights going on, both over here in the UK and abroad. But let's start with the UK. That's where we live. Let's start with Jack Catterall of Chorley, Lancashire. He's taking on Arnold Barboza of Los Angeles, America, in a light welterweight clash. I mean, is this another eliminator or an interim title? I mean, Jack Catterall just seems to have all these fights. None of them seem to be for world titles. He must have had the most eliminators I've ever seen. But anyway, he's taking on Arnold Barboza, who is, he's no joke. He's had, 31 fights. He's unbeaten. He's coming here with a lot of ambition. He's talking the talk. Can he walk the walk? Jack Catterall saying you're just an ordinary fighter. I don't know if you saw the face-off. It got quite testy between the two of them. Jack Catterall, as we know, he's also got 31 fights, 30 wins, 13 KOs, one loss, although let's be honest, it wasn't really a loss, was it? Josh Taylor, he later avenged that in style. Got to ask you, Daryl, your opinion on this fight. It seems like a good one, yeah?
Yeah, it does. But do you know what? Do you want me to be totally honest?
As always.
I haven't been giving this fight as much attention as it should, man. I'm just going to be
You're
honest.
not supposed to say things like that on Bonded by Boxing.
I have to be honest with the people, man. Listen, it is a good fight, very competitive fight. And Arnold Barboza, like you said, is no joke. But yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of just waiting for Jack Catterall, like you said, to land that title shot, man. And not the most engaging character outside the ring. Not that it really matters to me, but for me, yeah, I haven't paid as much attention to this fight as I probably should have. It's not a bad domestic card, to be fair. I know Zelfa Barrett's on there as well. It's got some good fights on there, but yeah, I just haven't. I mean, what's your thoughts on the main event? I mean, how do you see it actually going?
I think it could be quite a technical fight. It's two southpaws, right? I've got to say, I hear what you're saying. Jack Catterall is not the most exciting fighter to watch. I've got to say that. And he is underrated as well. Some of the stuff he does in there, he's technically very good, but it's not
very good.
But yeah, it's not ostentatiously good. He doesn't look like, you don't look at him. So, for example, he's not like an Adam Azim. He doesn't wow you. You know what I mean? You look at him and you think, okay. You know what I mean? He's a bit of a no frills guy, a bit like his character. Would say dour, but I know what you mean, dour. It's not immediately exciting. It's not aesthetically pleasing. However, he does a lot of things well. He's got a good jab. He's got good basics, decent defense. He can punch a bit. He punches harder than what his record suggests. I think in 31 fights, he's got 13 KOs, but he does drop and hurt a lot of people. I mean, in his last fight, he dropped Regis twice. You know what I mean? He dropped Josh Taylor a couple of times in their fights. So he can whack, and he's sturdy, does everything well. He's well coached. I think Jamie Moore and those guys have done a really good job with him. And what I would say about Jack Catterall is, okay, he may not look aesthetically pleasing, but he's a very hard man to beat. You know what I mean? That's what I kind of take from him. And the thing is, Arnold Barboza's kind of similar. He's got that style as well, where he's a little bit awkward, not necessarily pleasing on the eye, but he gets the job done. Good engine as well, Barboza. So this should be a really good fight.
Yeah, it should be. That's when I say that, I just mean that I haven't given it the attention the fight deserves, because it deserves more than what I'm giving it. But yeah, I just haven't been captured by it, if I'm being completely honest with you and the listeners.
No, listen, man, that's what you know what I mean? I always say to my guests, I want you to be open and honest. And if that's what you feel, that's what you feel. I'm sure people in the comments will agree or disagree, or they'll have their say. They will appreciate your honesty, Daryl. But yeah, I hear where I see where you're coming from. But I personally, I will be watching the fight for sure, as I'm sure you will. And I'm going for Jack Catterall to edge a close decision, because I do think Barboza will bring it. He said he's going to bring it. He's unbeaten. He talks very confident, as you imagine American fighters always do. He says he's here to win. He says he wants his world title shot. And he sees Jack Catterall as a very winnable fight. And he's expressed that in no uncertain terms. So, yeah, man, may the best man win. But you know what? I'm kind of hoping that Catterall comes through, because if anyone in this country deserves a world title shot, it's Jack
Absolutely.
Catterall. So let's see how that goes. But I'm going for Jack Catterall in a hard-fought,
Decision.
close points decision win in Manchester. Okay, moving on then. Overseas, this time in New York, one of my favorite cities in the world. Me and Daryl have been to New York a few times. In fact, Daryl's first trip to New York, I remember taking you many, many years ago. We toured the 5 boroughs. We
I
had a
remember.
great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, yeah, New York, Madison Square Garden, in the theater, not in the main arena. Denis Berinchik of Ukraine. He's taking on one of Daryl's fighters, Keyshawn, the businessman Davis. And this should be a really good fight. It's for the WBO lightweight title. Denis Berinchik, just to give the people listening a little bit of heads up about him, he's from Ukraine. He's a former 2012, that's London, 2012 Olympic Games silver medalist. By the way, he was on the same Ukraine team that produced Vasyl Lomachenko and Alexander Usyk, and he's good friends with those guys as well. He's now 36 years old. He won the title last year against Emmanuel Navarrete in a bit of an upset. He's had 19 fights, 19 wins, only 9 KOs. He's not a big puncher, but he's awkward. He's strong. He's pretty technical as well. And yeah, he gets the job done. So that's Denis Berinchik. Keyshawn, the businessman David, he's from America. He's also a former Olympic medalist, silver medalist. 12 fights, 12 wins, 8 KOs. But the thing about Keyshawn Davis is his last couple of fights, he's looked really good. He's got stoppages. And he talks a good one, Daryl. Keyshawn Davis.
He does. I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to the build-up to this fight, but it's got even more spicy now, man. I mean, I don't know. Have Berinchik and his team spoke about it? For those that aren't aware, Keyshawn Davis posted on his social media a picture of a delivery that got sent to his hotel room, and the delivery was a bananas, a watermelon, and a note from Team Berinchik, allegedly. And I'm not sure if the other team have addressed this yet, but yeah, Keyshawn Davis taking it very personal. Looks pretty suspect to me in terms of, you know, the thoughts around sending that to him, if that is true or not. But whatever it's done, it spiced it up even more. Keyshawn Davis seems very fired up now. And yeah, I was edging him going into it, but I feel like he needs to put on the show now as a result of that. And I think that he will. I think that he's on the trajectory. He's younger, he's fresher, and he's you know, he's really coming into his own. Berinchik is a very good fighter himself, but I just feel that, yeah, Keyshawn Davis this needs to be his time, and he's been calling for these type of fights and a title shot, and this is what he's going to get. So I'm edging him, but I think that, yeah, it's now got even more spicy.
Yeah, 100% agreed. I mean, yeah, you're right. And it was mentioned at the press conference yesterday, which got quite feisty between the two of them. Keyshawn Davis was noticeably upset, and as well he might do. I mean, I thought that was bang out of order. Whoever did that, I mean, as would be expected.
Have they addressed it? Have they addressed that?
Yeah, they said it wasn't them, and you know, the predictable stuff. It wasn't me, blah blah blah. But I mean, it looks like it was him. Even the broken English that was used in the writing kind of suggests that it might be him. Listen, we don't know for sure, but I thought if he was involved in anything like that, and whoever did that, that is really poor, man. I mean, there's no place. It's obvious racism as far as I'm concerned. Sort of the very worst stereotypes, and it's not funny. It's very offensive. Understandably, Keyshawn Davis is personally insulted, and he was saying at the press conference that he was going to take it out on Berinchik. He certainly looked in that mood to do it there and then. But the only thing I would say with that, sometimes you've got to be careful. I mean, whoever did that the intention was to wind Keyshawn up, and they have definitely wound him up because he was very animated at the press conference. I think the only danger, and Bomac is his trainer, and I'm pretty sure he will be talking to Keyshawn Davis. You can't afford to let your emotions get the best of you, especially when you're in with a seasoned, hardened pro like Berinchik. Because if you make mistakes and rush in and, you know what I mean, and get too carried away, he can punish you. He's not a big puncher, but he's a very strong guy. He knows his way around the ring. And, you know, he's very experienced. So that is a word of caution to Keyshawn Davis. But I agree with you, Darryl. I think that he's the man of the moment. He's looked really good in his last fight. In his last fight against Gustavo Lemos, which a lot of people said that could be a real test, he literally blew the guy away. So he's discovered his punching power. He's boxing with a certain swagger at the moment. I've got to admit, sometimes I find him a bit excessive, does a bit too much for me, as a lot of the young American guys tend to do. And I'm not stereotyping, that's just something I've noticed. But he's a very confident young man, but he's also very talented. And like you, Daryl, I expect him to get the job done. But I think Berinchik is a hardened pro, grizzled, tough, but he can box as well. That's the thing with these guys. He's not just a brawler. He knows his way around the ring. We've spoken about his amateur record. I think he had something like 350 amateur fights. So he knows his way around the boxing ring. And I doubt whether much he will be easy for Keyshawn. But I am going for Keyshawn to win a wide points decision.
Yeah, agree. I got Keyshawn winning the decision.
Yeah, but I think it'll be a very good fight, though. I think it will be very competitive, and I look forward to watching it. Right. Okay, moving on again. We've got to move swiftly on. Some big fight announcements, Daryl. There's a few here that I want to go through very quickly. I just want to get your thoughts. Not so much your predictions, but the star matchup and how much you're looking forward to the fight. April the 5th, Manchester Arena. Dillian Whyte, we spoke about him earlier. He's going to be fighting Joe Joyce, the juggernaut. Daryl, your thoughts on that matchup?
Loser leaves town. Loser leaves town. It's one of them. Yeah, I think.
Actually, they should have called it that.
Yeah, loser leaves town, man. Yeah, I like that. I'm looking forward to it in a weird way. I don't think the styles are going to mesh very well, but I'm still kind of looking forward to it, man. Like I am, maybe because of that reason. But Dillian Whyte, Joe Joyce. You know, there's a lot on the line for both, man. Like
there is.
So let's see. I'm looking forward to that.
I like that title though. Loser leaves town, and it kind of represents what a lot of people will be thinking. Although you know what boxing's like. Whoever loses probably won't leave town. They'll find a way. They'll make an excuse. You know what I mean? Blah blah blah. But anyway, in terms of the fight, I think it's a good matchup, especially coming at this stage of their respective careers. I mean, I've got to be honest. If this had been a few years ago, i.e., before the Zhili Zhang fights, most people would have picked Joe Joyce to steamroller Dillian. But those two losses to Joe Joyce, and of course, don't forget he lost to Derek Chisora. He got dropped in that fight as well. All of a sudden now, that fight is totally different. I mean, Dillian hasn't looked anywhere near impressive in his last
few against Tete.
Yeah. But he has won, so at least he's coming into this fight with a winning record, whereas Joe Joyce lost his last 3 fights. So, or last 3 meaningful fights anyway. So, it's a good matchup, man. I look forward to it, and I think it will be an entertaining fight because, you know, they're not going to run around the ring, are they?
No. They're not. Joe Joyce hasn't got, he's not exactly, Joe Joyce, he's not exactly Lomachenko, is he? So it's going to be an entertaining fight, I think.
You say that, Darryl, right? But Joe Joyce's footwork is actually a lot better than people give him credit for. He can move. Have you not seen his capoeira moves and all that?
I have, yeah. I mean, he's very athletic, Joe Joyce, man.
But guy, 6'6", 19 stone plus, or whatever it is, he moves well. Whereas Dillian, man, Dillian's footwork is just.
It's gonna be real. I'm really looking forward to that fight.
Remember that time when Dillian, I think, was he after he beat Chisora, he kicked the ring post, he fell over.
Yeah, he nearly fell over himself. His balance at times can be called into question, man. But
the man's got no rhythm at all. But one thing, but all jokes aside, though, Dillian will fight to the last breath in his body. He's like Chisora. He's an absolute warrior. So is Joe Joyce, to be fair, as well. So that's what I'm saying. Although that fight, they're both well past their best, I do think that fight will provide good entertainment for the fans. On the undercard is a fight that I'm really looking forward to as well. A real needle match, a real grudge match. I never saw this coming, but when it got announced, I was like, right, you know what? Count me in for that, man. Lawrence Okoli recently turned heavyweight, had a really good win in his last fight, KO'd the guy like real early, big punching. He looked a bit overweight, yeah. But when he landed that right hand, man, it was good night Vienna. He's taking on another big puncher, another guy that's stepping up in weight, a guy that kind of gone off the radar for a while, but now he's back. Richard Riakporhe down. Former challenger.
I gotta say, man, with the funniest thing so far was at the presser when Lawrence Okoli said, "Look, man, Madonna's just kind of old, you know, bro," and you could tell Riakporhe kind of he didn't really like it. But even Frank Warren and that lot were laughing, man. I think the whole audience were pretty captivated by that.
I
But
must admit,
listen,
I found it amusing as
that
well.
was hilarious.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I think it was the dry
for
manner
the
and
uninitiated, there was some. I don't know if it's rumor. It's more than rumors, isn't it? I think he was actually dating Madonna. I'm
well,
not sure.
I don't know,
If he
man.
was.
But she was sitting on his lap. I know that. They took pictures and all that. I know
Too
that
much
that's true.
information. But no,
Yeah,
I heard
but
that they were dating, or well,
they
at the
couldn't have
very
been dating,
least, they
man.
were.
Surely not.
That's what I heard because I think how that rumor or how that story came to pass is that Richard Rapport he dabbles in modeling and all that, doesn't he? So he's been going to all these modeling shoots and stuff like that. Met Madonna, they became really good friends, and it was rumored that they were dating. Now I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what people have been reporting. But anyway,
So good
Richard
for him.
Riakporhe,
Yeah.
I've got to say, man, his last performance was one of the worst world title challenges I've ever witnessed. That fight he had against Bill Smith was atrocious. He's getting a chance to redeem himself now. He's going up in weight. The one thing I would say about Riakporhe, man, he's a big puncher. So both of those guys are big punchers. Both of those guys are coming up from cruiserweight. And as you alluded to earlier, Daryl, both of these guys don't like each other. So it's a real grudge match. And I don't imagine there'll be much technical skills on display. But I think it could be one of those where the first one to land and it could be over. So it could be an
Yeah.
intriguing fight.
Yeah, it will be. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's on the undercard of the April the 5th show of Dillian and Joe Joyce. A few weeks after that, April 20th. You must be looking forward to this one, Darryl, if you've not heard about it already. The rematch between Ben Whittaker and Liam Cameron's been announced. April the 20th.
Good news for the boxing fan. There's Whittaker's got a point to prove here. You know, there's been a lot of questions asked about him after that fight. And Cameron put up a really good effort, man. I mean, it was sad how that first fight ended because it was really starting to warm up. So yeah, looking forward to it, man. There's some needle in there as well. And yeah, really looking forward to this rematch.
I've got to ask you, are you one of those that think that Ben kind of took the easy way out last time out?
Well, listen, man, he says that he didn't. You know what I mean? He knows more than me. But yeah, like I could see why other people were thinking that way because the fight was kind of going against him. But if you suffer an injury, you suffer an injury. So I can't really be the one to say whether it was or not. But, you know, this is what the rematch is for. Let's see what happens in the rematch. And those questions will be put to bed.
Yeah, that's the great thing about boxing, man. And the great thing about rematches. You could say what you want about other people, but once you get in the ring, that's your chance to settle everything. But just on that topic, that whole did he spew it or not? Listen, man, I've said I watched the fight. In fact, I watched it a few times because of that incident that happened. And I'm going to say this, and I've said it before on one of my shows that I did. I don't think he spewed it at all. I think the injury is genuine. I mean, how can you force yourself over the top rope and, you know what I mean, land like that? That just doesn't seem on to me. And listen, if he had an injury and he made the most of it, I mean, let's be honest, bro. A lot of people would do that, wouldn't it? I mean, what are you going to fight for? There were several rounds still left in that fight, and you're expecting the man to fight on with an injury. You would have been silly to do that. So if people are saying, did he manufacture the falling over the rope and, you know what I mean, make up an injury that wasn't there, I'm saying I don't believe that at all. If people are saying, did he make the most of it, you know what I mean, in order to get out of the fight, I'm saying, look, if he did that, only he will know. And if he did that, listen, I don't have a huge problem with it because this is the fight business. If you're injured, if you suffer an injury in the middle of a fight, and, you know what I mean, there is the option there for you to pull out. I think, listen, Bob Marley, the late great Bob Marley said, he who lives away, runs away, lives to fight another day. I think he's perfect within his rights to do that. And listen, he was right to do that because here we are talking about the rematch. Both fighters, him and Liam Cameron, are going to make a lot of money out of this rematch. And like you said, Daryl, the best man will win on the night. So I'm cool with that. So yeah, I look forward to that fight on April the 20th with keen interest, with bated breath. We'll see how that goes. And the last fight I'm going to ask you to comment on because we're running out of time. Josh Taylor versus Eku Essuman in May. I don't think a final date's been announced yet, but we know it's taking place in May and we know it's going to take place in Scotland, the return of Josh Taylor.
Risky. I think his first fight at welterweight. His first fight at welterweight. Josh Taylor, clearly his best days are behind him. Hasn't been in the ring for a while. I think it's risky. I think it's a risky fight against Echo Esselman. I think he's a good fighter. Um, let's see how it goes, man. I'm not sure how long Josh Taylor has left, but you know he's tabbling up in a new weight division. Maybe he needs that. Maybe that's what he needed. Maybe that was why his last few performances have not been up to standard. But it's going to be interesting, man. Esselman's a tough fighter. You can see he's a natural welterweight. So this will be a very good fight. I think I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, you're right. I think Josh Taylor, fair play to him. He's not chosen an easy fight for his welterweight debut. He said many times that he struggles to make light welterweight. He probably should have moved up a few years ago. I think this is a dangerous fight for him. Echo Esserman won his last fight. I watched that. And he's always in good fights, Echo Esserman. He brings it. And yeah, I think that this could be a very interesting night. I mean, I suppose the fact that it's in Scotland, in Glasgow, you have to favour Josh Taylor. But what I would say is this, Darryl, it would not surprise me in the slightest if Echo Esserman won that fight. Obviously, we'll look at how the two guys look in training, and I'll give my prediction closer to the fight. But I can say straight away that I'm looking forward to that fight. And like I said, it would not surprise me if there is an upset in that fight. But anyway, Darryl, unless you got anything you want to add, we're going to wrap up the show now.
Yeah, yeah, no, just shout out to all the listeners, man. If you're new here, make sure you hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe. Yeah, really enjoying the content and looking forward to some of the upcoming fights. We've got a great one coming up in a couple of weeks. Great card, which I'm sure we're going to jump into. But until then, yeah, enjoy the videos and make sure you subscribe to LL Sports.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I just want to say in closing as well, big up to Clinton Baptiste, the
For
professional
sure,
boxer. He
my
fights
guy.
out of Luton. He's fighting soon. He contacted me a couple of weeks ago, and he told me he was fighting. I think it's something in Northampton, somewhere like that. I think it was
No, he's,
supposed to
he's
be.
fighting at the O2 Arena. He's fighting. I forgot the guy's name, but I'm sure it's at the O2. Sure, it's at the
Oh, I
O2
thought it.
Arena.
Right, okay. It's on the 21st of February, so watch out for Clinton Baptiste, man. He's had one fight already, which he won and won well. He's the son of one of my best friends, Alan Baptiste. Shout out to Alan. Alan was also a pro, so it's great to see his son carrying on the family heirloom. And I hope he's successful. Going to try and get Clinton in at some stage. I wish him all the best in his fight on the 21st. And yeah, good luck, Clinton. So big up
Yeah,
Clinton
big up Clinton,
Baptiste.
man. For
Enough
sure.
respect. But yeah, Daryl, listen, thanks so much. Thanks for coming on and being forthright and airing your views for the people. Really appreciate it. Also appreciate everybody watching the show, all those people who support the channel. Big up to yourselves. If you're new here, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll catch you on the next one. Next week, you will be going through all those fights that are happening this weekend. And we'll be talking about more things as well. Big up. Thank you very much. We're out.
Peace out.